Safid, do we have a new actor on the Dolphins roster? Because I got to say, Cameron Good has got a future. That was awesome on his part. That was fantastic baiting and then acting. I mean, he learned a flop from Vlade Divac. Like, I don't know. I think Vlade was in the stands and he was proud. That was good.
Yeah, I would have been proud too if I was Lottie Divac. That was a good flop by him. Can never get punked by the punter on the other team, but hey, if it's going to give you 5, 10, 15 yards, go right ahead, right?
Right. I mean, I loved it. I was tripping out with it. I was like, Cam, a youngin. And yeah, I go, no wonder it's a Cal guy. He's a smart guy.
Yeah,
And
man, you got to use your head out there.
he baited that dude. That was just an absolutely beautiful thing. What else did you find beautiful today for the Miami Dolphins in their performance?
Um, Tyreek Hill, man, breaking the record, most yards, 814 yards, through 6 games in his NFL career. I mean, through 6 games through this season, sorry, but he's off to the best start in his NFL career, man. This is with Tua as his quarterback, not Patrick Mahomes. That was my big takeaway, kind of from my time in the locker room. I spent some time with Tua and Raheem Mostert and Cam Wolf at the winding down minutes of post game, where everybody's kind of leaving the locker room, stuff like that. Tua is just completely another person, man. It's incredible to see. Um, a couple years ago, you wouldn't be able to really go up to Tua and talk to him in the locker room, and just because he's about his business, he's trying to just get up out of there. It's no fun in the Dolphins locker room, last couple years before
No.
Mike McDaniel got here.
Right.
And now, man, he's joking with everybody. He's having a great time. He's clowning on other people's outfits. He's even talking to people in the media, which is crazy to think about. But I got something coming in USA Today in a little bit about just something I asked Tua on the side about Tyreek's crazy start. Because you remember when Tyreek first signed with the Dolphins, what all the conversation was about. How is Tyreek Hill going to do with Tua Tagovailoa instead of Patrick Mahomes? Now,
Right.
don't get me wrong. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of our time. He's going to have the rings when it does comes. He's not maybe not touch Brady with 7, but he's going to be he's the next Brady for sure, right? This is his league. And you look at a player like Tyreek Hill, who just got 163 yards today on 6 catches, a 41-yard touchdown. Last week he had a 69-yard touchdown from Tua. These guys are just on another level together. And that just really, more than speaking about Tua, Tua's preparation has been incredible. His communication with Hill is incredible. They look at each other on the line of scrimmage. They look at each other and they're making eye contact, gestures to each other. They are on the same page to a T. It's a beautiful connection between quarterback and wide receiver. And then you got to look at Tyreek Hill, man. This guy's a Hall of Famer. He is a game changer. Tyreek Hill may go down as one of the best receivers in NFL history because nobody has ever done what he's doing with his size and his speed. It's just he's a unicorn out there on the field. He'll make any quarterback look good, and that's what he's doing with Tua. And that's what he did with Patrick Mahomes, for so many years too. So that was kind of my big takeaway from leaving the locker room. Um, I do want to say Chris Brooks. I saw him walking. The O linemen were talking to him after the game in the locker room as well. So Chris Brooks didn't look, although it looked really bad. Trust me, it looked
Yeah.
really bad. He looked like he had no weight on his feet after, but he was standing on 2 feet, talking to the O linemen after the game, and they were worried about him too, and they were happy to see him walking around. So I think Chris Brooks is not as injured as
Ooh,
we saw him, which is great
okay.
news.
I like
Bad
that.
news. Bad news is Xavier's groin.
Yeah.
Obviously, because that is, AJ Brown might have a field day if he's has any groin injury. I would limit him in practice all week coming up. That was the one player you probably didn't need to have any kind of injury to. But hey, man, 5-1, things are looking really, really up, Big O.
Yeah. 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 But you got to get it done this week against Philadelphia. That's the team you got
Of
to beat
course,
right
of
now. But
course.
let me follow up on the Tua stuff that you're talking about because I was talking about this in his press conference. He talked about how Mike McDaniel gave him a couple plays in the somersault touchdown for Tyreek, and obviously they scored the touchdown and they were able to do that. And then the week before they had the whole oh, I didn't understand what he sent me, and then I called this play and I did that. And this is also part of the maturation, part of the relationship, part of the trust, confidence, all those things that are taken into play with the coach and the player in a very ego-driven league where the coach controls everything because they're so worried about their job and they've got to control every play. Here's Mike McDaniel, who is willing to delegate authority and give his quarterback the freedom to do something out there and give him and trust him in doing that, which is something that, you talked about how it wasn't fun for him the first couple of years. Not just fun, but there would have been never any trust in that kind of an area, for Tua Tagovailoa. So it also shows how much more he's grown, how much more Mike McDaniel has trusted him, that from the get-go he embraced him, but he has proven that he has embraced him by even giving him the freedoms of being able that there's going to be a game, and maybe, soon it's going to happen where McDaniel's going to send in a play, and the clock is gone, and he can't get to him anymore. And Tua's going to line up, and there's 12 seconds left, and he's going to go, this is the wrong play. We're going to do this instead, and he's going to change it up right there and then. And that's going to happen because of these kind of moments today that happened, that you gave him the freedom of doing whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, Big O. Today's Tyreek Hill touchdown, the 41-yarder, was very similar to the 69-yarder last week. I asked Tua to start his press conference today. Did he make the call again? Because he made the call last week, right? And he said Mike gave him the option this week. He was on the right page, or Mike was on time, is what Tua said. So everybody's right on time. Big O, I wrote a sentence down earlier, and it just baffles me. Tyreek Hill left Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid for Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel, and it worked out. It's working out. It's working out really good. Tyreek has the best start of his NFL career. Dolphins are 5-1. They got a better record than the Chiefs right now, right? Or the same record, excuse me. But, man, it's incredible. And like you said, there's going to come a time where some miscommunication doesn't happen or the call doesn't get in, and Tua's going to have to make it on his own. And the best leaders, in my opinion, are the ones who delegate and don't micromanage. And it feels like that's what Mike McDaniel is doing right now. He's delegating tasks out. You can obviously Frank Smith has a big role to play in the offense, excuse me. And you can obviously see that he's delegated the defense to the defensive coaches. And they still leave a lot to be desired, yes. But, it's going to be a really big game next week in Philly. And, going into it, I don't know if I would go for the Dolphins in this one just because I'm not sure about the defense.
Yeah.
And,
earned that.
That's understandable. They have earned that, yes. But I wouldn't even write it off as like we write the Dolphins off after the Bills game because that was one where they deserve to be written off. That team's been kicking their you-know-what for a long time, and they're not better than them yet, just yet. The Eagles is a good barometer test for them. But I'd be weird to kind of write them off even after that too, because we know where it's going to be. If the offense falls flat, that's another story. But also the defense just completely doesn't show up. We knew what the problem was going into it, right? And they still have a couple weeks coming up to figure it all out.
The way I feel about it, Safid, dude, ladies and gentlemen, let's all gather around the campfire now. Okay, let's all talk. Let's have a come to Jesus here. Let's be honest. This is not ever going to turn into right now the Ravens defense of 2001, the Bucks, the Doomsday defense, the no-name defense, the Steel Curtain, the Broncos of 2016. It's not going to happen right now. We all know that. Mm-hmm. So once you get Jalen Ramsey back, okay, if you're relatively healthy, and now you have Kohu more in the slot position where he can excel, and then all of a sudden now, if Jalen Phillips can get in some kind of a groove now, what I really want from this defense is get me timely stops. Get beat up a little bit. I understand. You're going to give up some yards. You're going to give up some points. I also understand this. It's time for the offense to carry the team. But the defense, the way you do your part, it's kind of like the Chargers game where you were kind of in a slugfest. Then at the end, you whipped out a couple blitzes. You made the key stops, and you're home. So in these kind of games coming up, I expect you to kick Carolina and the Giants' ass and the Patriots and all these other teams. But in a game like Philadelphia, get me a couple of key stops. And then McDaniel and offense, hey, baby, you guys got all the chemistry, you got all the talent, you got all the groove, right? Stella's got her groove on the offensive side. Please carry us. We're not worthy. And that's it. That's the way I look at it. Defense, just get me a couple plays. Offense, carry the load, baby.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like a recipe for success, right, for Miami. It's kind of crazy how the tide has turned on this team. Where the past 3 years we've been worried, like not worried, but 3 years you're worried about the offense, and you're like, all right, we're gonna rely on the defense. Now it's completely flipped, and that's because the players are not yet used to Vic Fangio's scheme and what that all entails. They got ran on pretty early by Carolina, and that was kind of understandable. That's a first quarter kind of a feel out process, if you will, early on in a fight. It was a matter of time the Dolphins imposed their will, like you're speaking about. And it's kind of crazy how the Dolphins did it too, Big O, because they went down 14 zip, right? And then literally in a matter of less than 5 minutes of game time when they're on offense, they tied the game.
I want
So,
you to do this. I want you to do this when you have time tonight. Right when the Panthers score 14-0, they right before they go to the break, they show Tua and McDaniel on the sidelines.
hmm
There was a look at each other like, hey, we got to stop fucking around. Let's go. Seriously, I want you to look at it. I
yeah,
want everybody to go back and look at that moment. And there was like there wasn't a lot of words said,
so
but
the
you
flip switch, the flip
words in
got
that
switched.
moment. And yeah, and it was like Tua was like, yeah, dude, let's go. And I
Mm,
right away, I expect a wicked and convicted drive for a touchdown right now. And sure enough, they were and they got their touchdown right away. Go look
the
at that exchange. It was like, hey, enough already. Let's go. And
big
they were sleepwalking, bro. They were
after the they ended the game on a 42-7 run. 32 points unanswered, right? So at the end of the day, you're really, obviously the Panthers are 0-6, worst team in the NFL. This in the Broncos performance is what you have when you know what's on the other side of the ball, right? Even with the Giants a little bit, they play with the food a little bit too.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to turn on a switch against a bad team. But next week is an opportunity to show what you can really do against a great team.
Yeah.
The Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year. They're probably going to be in the NFC title game again with the 49ers. And they could probably be the team you meet in the Super Bowl if you make it there, if you're Miami, right? So this is a great barometer test for them. Jalen Hurts is playing really great. Obviously, we know about the tush push play. They always get that 1, 2, 3 yards that they need. But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert are three really great weapons. They found a running back in DeAndre Swift, who was sent away from Detroit. And more importantly than that, man, their defensive line is absolutely crazy. I mean, Hassan Riddick, Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, right? They have 8 guys. So you're either going to not run the ball or two is going to get sacked a couple times. That's the recipe for disaster. And the recipe for success is to see what you can do and how fast you can move the ball and how quickly you can get out the numbers. Because Slay's a great defender, but it's not staying toe to toe with Tyreek or Waddle.
Yeah.
They got some guys on the back end too, but they're just guys. They're compared to everybody up front. That defense is up front. It's not a secondary. It's a respected secondary. Don't get me wrong, but that the juice of that whole entire team, to me,
Oh
is
yeah.
the D line. Is the D
Yes.
line more than the
Front,
offense?
yes. Yes. I agree. The front seven is what stirs the straw, the straw that stirs the drink for the defense. I
hmm
agree with you. It'll be interesting to see what kind of game plan he has. And then the other thing, we talk about how the Dolphins need that test of proving to be great, start beating the great teams. But McDaniel also, you got stifled with the Chargers and the Niners, and you didn't have until a year later. Okay. And in the playoff game against the Bills, you weren't ready for that third down and you set your team back. And then this year against the Bills, they stifled you and you didn't have an answer. So that's the other thing I kind of look forward to, because I need to see McDaniel also in those moments do a better job of counterpunching and come up with something that has an answer. And I, it's easier to do it against the lesser teams. Do it against these kind of teams too. So there are several tests here, including for McDaniel too, to see how he attacks these people.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, Nick Sirianni is a you got to give him credit. He reached the Super Bowl. He had two coordinators that were hired away, and the Eagles are still off to a pretty good start this year because those guys got replaced, right? But I mean, at some point, that continuity is going to be tested. And I think the Dolphins game is the perfect test for them. I think Mike McDaniel, I would put him maybe on a similar trajectory or even status as Nick Sirianni. I think Mike McDaniel could even outcoach Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni is not perfect as a coach. He has made some questionable decisions, sure, but the portfolio was there. And I definitely think this could be a week where Mike kind of flexes his muscle a little bit as a coach, and maybe get Sirianni on a play or two here. But going into Philly on Sunday night, the whole nation's going to be watching on you, right?
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for Tua and Tyreek to go crazy, for Mike to really, really kind of, pronounce himself even more as one of the great young coaches in the league, and for Tua and Jalen Hurts to kind of go back and forth at it too, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want to watch that matchup too as well. Jalen Hurts is probably one of the most impressive young quarterbacks in our league right now. I have a ton of respect for that kid and where he's come from and what he's done. Um, and we'll see how much he does against Miami next week. But I mean, I think he definitely could run all over that defense. I'm worried about Van Ginkel. Like I told you last week, Van Ginkel is like a react. He's not read or react. He's react. There was a couple plays against Daniel Jones where Daniel Jones ended up keeping the football. They're tackling the running back in the backfield, and Daniel Jones is 10, 15 yards down the field, right? So I'm worried about Jalen Hurts running in this game more than I am about his passing, but he's a pretty solid passer too. So
Yeah,
this
he's
is,
his accuracy a little bit, so
he
he's
has
definitely.
improved a lot. Yeah, man. So looking forward to it next week, man. We're really looking forward to it. This is a big test, and we'll see how we feel afterwards. We'll see if you're complaining about the Messiah as the coach, and if the Dolphins made it or we gave them too much credit or this and that. They rebounded well. They're 5-1 is a great position to be in, but it's where the real test comes.
Yep, can't wait for it. Let's see, 3 catches, 17 yards, a touchdown. 17 carries, 115 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a high flying picture as he leaps over a defender. I thought the Miami Dolphins needed a running back.
Raheem Mostert thought they needed one too, right? So he showed up. Man, the knock on Raheem when he first signed with the Dolphins was he got hurt a little bit when he was in San Francisco. Looking good right now. Um, the way he's running is incredible right now to me. Um, he's running really hard. Like at first, I kind of give him credit as like a finesse outside runner. He's mixing it up with everybody. I don't know if this was shared. I'm pretty sure somebody probably shared it, but Raheem lost his grandfather, unfortunately. And last week he was speaking about it in the locker room. And man, in the second half of that game last week, Raheem had 3 carries by midfield, 3 or 4, scored a touchdown, rushing touchdown, and he would just not be denied. And it's literally the same thing, the same gusto that he's running with right now. He just won't be denied right now. And it's incredible. 17 carries, 7 yards per carry, had a 49-yard run during that game. And obviously he caught the ball at the backfield too when he needed to. Like, you know, Savon Ahmed got a touchdown, yes, great, good for him. But like, we know who the two backs are in this team. It's Mostert and it's Achan when Achan
Yeah.
comes back, right? Um, and that's where I'm worried about the depth because I feel like I don't feel like the Dolphins are as deep as maybe you may feel like they are. I don't think Ahmed is anywhere near close to those other two guys.
Oh, but
Chris
he's
Brooks is close.
done a good
He's
job.
it
He's done
depends,
a
man.
good
He
job, dude.
does, yeah, you're serviceable. There's a difference between serviceable and game changing.
Okay,
And that's where I think the difference is.
but dude, you're asking for your fourth and fifth running backs to be game changing?
No, no, I understand what I'm asking for. I
Fair.
understand what I'm asking for. I understand what I'm asking for, and I know it's not realistic, but I just
Yeah.
think I don't. I think some expectations should be tempered. Is what I'm getting at. They're deep. The depth is great, but you have two game changers, and they need A Chain back as soon as they can, and they need Mostert to really play as well as he has been playing.
He played. I mean, he played well last year. And the few carries he got well over 4 or 5 yards a carry. Today was almost 4 yards a carry, filling in and picked up a touchdown. I think Jeff Wilson does a solid job too.
Yeah, I
Again,
like Jeff a lot.
are they as dynamic as a Chan? No, of course not. How
Hmm
many quarterbacks in the damn NFL are as
That's why
dynamic?
it's so great that they found him.
Right,
It's why it's so
exactly.
great that they found him. Yeah. Look, Raheem
Yeah.
has to keep it up, obviously, and I'm excited to see what Jeff Wilson brings when he comes back.
Let me
It's
run
a
this
change of
by
pace. Go ahead.
Let me run this by you. I'll keep on the running back theme here a second, okay? Because I ran
Sure.
it by Feronis. You know who Darrington Evans is?
Darrington Evans. The name rings a bell. They left they from the practice squad, went to Chicago. Man, so
Exactly.
you're gonna tell me that the Dolphins running back are so deep that Chicago said, "Let me call the Dolphins for one." When really
Leading
Chicago had like three.
third, third leading rusher for them today, 9 for 32. It's all I'm saying is he had more carries than their third round back. Okay,
He
I'm
did.
just saying. It's so think about it. I think you're asking for a little too much,
I am.
but
I am. I am.
Ahmed and for Chris Brooks and Jeff Wilson as the third, fourth, and fifth backs.
No, no, sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. I'm asking for a lot. Yeah. Um, look, I'm glad Raheem came out of this game clean because you're gonna need him in Philly. He has to hold on to the football. It's everything is sweet right now, but he has to hold on to the football. He
I was
knows
pissed
that.
at McDaniel. I was pissed at McDaniel a little bit here when it goes
Mhm.
35-7, right, or whatever, 14. Bro, why'd you bring him back? And he took that Malachi crunch. He had to go to the bench at that time. You had the backups in
Mhm.
there. Let the backups finish, man. I thought he gave Mostert one too many carries, and that one too many could have been an injury, bro. I was a little concerned about
Yeah, and at a certain point too, all the dogs were called off. I mean, even Cam Smith got into the game, and we haven't seen Cam Smith in weeks. So, happy for him to get into the game, get some action, get on the stat sheet, so to speak. Um, but yeah, Dolphins take care of business. 5-1. They messed around a little bit in the first quarter, made it a little bit more interesting or entertaining for all of us. I'm sure some Dolphins fans out there were moaning and groaning at home. And before halftime, you had a nice halftime brew and celebrated 21-14 lead, and it was all sailing, smooth sailings from there.
always an unfair question for everybody. The O line and especially Eichenberg. I know you really got to go back and watch the tape because you don't really get to
Yeah.
like focus. But from what you saw, your thoughts?
I was happy with Eichenberg. I don't recall any snaps or anything from the game. Um, I There was one moment that stuck out to me. I think after a play, I forgot who scored. Robert Hunt kind of came up a little bit on his hamstring, but he finished the game. And Eichenberg was just pumped, man. He like wanted to chest bump Robert Hunt. Robert Hunt was like, "Hold on, man. I kind of hurt myself a little bit." Looked good, man. Isaiah Wynn is a dog. I wouldn't put anything past that guy either. Um, they got a test this week, man. They got a test this week. They got one of the best D lines in the whole NFL behind San Francisco, right? Or ahead,
Yeah.
maybe. So they got a huge test this week. This is a week you'd love to have Armstead. Unfortunately, you don't have him. Um, but yeah, Dolphins are gonna have to mix it up and figure it out because they need this win in Philly. They need this win to really show everybody that you know they're a very formidable team in the AFC, and depending on how close they play Philly, will come away with that judgment or not.
Amen to that. All right, follow him on Twitter at Safid_Deen. Tell him what you got going on in the USA today, my man.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to swing a column right now. Tyreek Hill made the right decision leaving Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid because he has Tua and he has Mike McDaniel. So I'm coming up with that right now. Reach out to the kid that made the video of Tyreek in the end zone. He's not going to speak yet, but hopefully I get to speak to him real soon. Tyreek set that whole thing up, man. You know how Tyreek is. Even though when Tyreek tells a little white lie, you know the truth when he does tell it. So that was definitely all set up, the whole touchdown thing. The
But
kid was just
I'm
voting in the end zone.
I'm sure the Dolphin you got to give community relations and media relations. They were probably a part of helping him do the whole thing with the guy and all that. I think there's a little teamwork there. You got to give the Dolphins a lot of credit.
No. I'm not talking. You talking about last week? I'm talking about this week when he took the phone and flipped the.
Okay,
This
this week.
I was talking about that kid. No, it was great. They went to that the guy last week. They went to that restaurant in Pompano, not Pompano. Pompano Beach maybe. Boardwalk. I forgot the name of that restaurant. Really great. They have a really good key lime pie there. But it was really cool to see Tyreek do that for the fan. And Tyreek is about making memories every time he touches the field. That's what he said when I asked him, are you sure you're spending a little bit too much money, or you about to get fined 10 G's every time you do something like this? But hey, man, the No Fun League, somebody got to bring some fun to it. So thank you, Tyreek. Thank you for spending the money out of your pocket to make it fun for all of us. Yeah, man, big I'll see you Tuesday.
You got it. As I said before, the 60s is pissed. You're fighting for the peace sign?
Yeah, man, come on. Come on. The NFL is just fighting over some really ridiculous things, bro. Really ridiculous things.
Safid, appreciate you, my brother. We'll catch up.
Have a good one, man.
You got it. Safid Deen, baby, and our BaptistHealth.net/ortho Miami Dolphins postgame report. And don't forget, if you have an injury that's keeping you from doing what you love, it's time for you to take charge of your health and get back into the game with the help of the all-pro staff at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. Tell them that Big O sent you, folks, and you don't have to be a professional athlete like Tyreek Hill. They even got a new hospital right there by the stadium. You can visit that one right there. Go where the pros go. The doctors at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care can see you now. Visit BaptistHealth.net/ortho to request an appointment and get yourself back in the game.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.